Thank you. Let's bring the discussion back into the studio for now. Doctor, the card readers, which he mentioned, some people are a bit wary about the use of the card readers, even though they've been demonstrated in about 12 states in the country. And Professor Jega has come out and explained exactly how these card readers work. They are not for elections. They are simply for accreditation. What are your thoughts about the card reader and the use of them?
Well, I think that the real purpose of introducing the card readers at this point of our electoral process is to make sure that we enhance the credibility of the process itself, to make sure that as many people that get accredited actually cast their votes, and that those who possess the PVCs are those, in fact, who go to cast their votes.
With those PVCs.
Yes, with those PVCs. But you see, ultimately, though, these card readers are technical equipment, and there is a likelihood that some of them may in fact develop some faults in the course of the usage. So what I'll be very interested to see, and I suspect what most Nigerians will be interested to see, will be how the INEC has prepared alternative modalities for people to cast their votes. Furthermore, I'm also interested in how those whose PVCs have been stolen by political desperados, those whose PVCs have been stolen, how will they likely cast their vote? I don't think that it is sufficient for INEC to simply to say, well, look, if these PVCs are stolen, then those who stole them will not be able to use them. I am more interested, and I suspect most Nigerians are interested in what will then happen to those who originally owned the PVCs. My suggestion will be that there ought to be incident forms that also, respond to those kind of situations. Because if the PVC is an INEC material, INEC has custody of them. If INEC loses those PVCs, it is the responsibility of INEC to make sure there is a plan B for those who own the PVCs to be able to cast their votes. I think that INEC needs to go out to the public to make sure that people are aware that even if their PVCs are stolen, there ought to be an alternative modality of identification to make sure that people are able to cast their votes. Concerning whether the INEC's credibility has been compromised or not, I think that there are fundamental questions concerning the distribution processes of the PVCs. I note the point the PDP supporter in Abuja says about how the distribution rates in Borno State, for instance, a state that has been higher than Ogun State, has been higher than Abia State, higher than Imo State. I would like to know, how was the PVC distributed in such a skewed and suspicious manner? Because people tend to say that, well, Patrick has made the point, interestingly, about, 85%, 81% of PVCs have been taken. I, for one, wouldn't be satisfied with that. The role of the INEC constitutionally is to make sure that every registered Nigerian, not 80% of them, not 70% of them, not 85% of them, every single Nigerian who registered for the election ought to have the PVCs distributed. And we've had 4 years to prepare for this. Okay? So it seems to me that INEC needs to know that Nigerians will not be satisfied with 81% distribution rate. Every single person who needs to have the PVC ought to have it. The question you raised in the course of your introduction about if these PVCs are at the collection centers and have not been collected by the potential voters,
yes,
what will INEC do? I would suggest that INEC should launch a relentless public sensitization campaign. Make the people understand that, look, the PVCs have left the doors. The PVCs are now at the ward where you registered. The PVCs, yes, are waiting. You go now and collect the PVCs. INEC's responsibilities shouldn't stop simply in distribution and the distribution of the PVCs, but there ought to be a mass enlightenment arm of the INEC that makes people know that, look, the PVCs are in fact waiting for you to collect. I think that we need to go the full spectrum of INEC's responsibility so that as many people as possible will not only get their PVCs, but will then be able to exercise their franchise.
But Doctor, I need to quickly add that
Yes.
you're not satisfied with 80%, but remember that some people who had registered
Yes.
have died.
Yes.
Some have relocated
Yeah.
to other states. I mean, the issue about those who have relocated is another matter entirely, because it doesn't matter where you relocate to, as long as you live within Nigeria, there should be a provision for you to be able to vote.
Yes.
So that you have relocated from Ibadan to Lagos
Yes.
should not disenfranchise you at all.
Yes, and it will be interesting that INEC ought to accommodate this in all of their planning, because if you live in Abia State, for instance, or in fact, if you lived in Borno and you had to relocate because of the crisis there, and you go back to Abia State or Kaduna or elsewhere within the borders of this country, simply relocating from one place to the other shouldn't be enough to disenfranchise you. I think that INEC has had 4 years to anticipate all of these kind of problems, and it will be inexcusable if, because of this kind of movement from one place to the other within the borders of the country, people are then unable.
The question will now be that issue of electronic voting, the ability to vote from any part of the country.
Yeah.
Because right now that people have located, they're still looking for their PVCs or how their PVCs will be transferred to them wherever they are. I mean, someone just thanking INEC that finally he got his PVC after a long time of waiting. So that question of the laws, I mean, Professor Jega has talked about the fact that the laws are constraining them from doing the things that they would have wanted to do, to make it easier for Nigerians to vote from any part of the country.
Yes, but there has been this analogy that INEC officials, including the spokesman of INEC, has said about how the PVCs are not in fact fundamentally different from the ATM cards that we use. Okay, but we use our ATM cards everywhere we go within the country, right?
Even abroad?
Yes, even abroad. I mean, if you're moving from Lagos to Port Harcourt to Kaduna, your ATM cards work wherever you go. Yeah. If you go to the UK, you go to Spain, you go to the US, your ATM cards work. So it seems to me that by logical extension, our people ought to be able to say, look, I've got my PVC. And the system needs to be harmonized in such a manner that wherever you are within the borders of this country at least, you need to be able to use your PVCs. And I think that there's a reason why we have 4 years to prepare for this election. This election isn't happening to us in a moment of epiphany. Actually, this is something we have prepared for, or should have prepared for, over the past 4 years. When we got to 2011, we knew that 2015 would come and that elections will be held. Children who were 14 years of age in 2011 are 18 years now. They ought to be captured in the system. These things shouldn't come to us with the kind of suddenness that we are seeing. So I think that INEC has a responsibility to rise to the kind of logistic challenges that we are seeing.